What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Keg is with you. In today's video, we are going to talk about two systems that are going to move across a lot of the country as we turn things active, at least east of the Rockies for a change. It's going to bring snow to places like the plains to the northeast. Storm number 2 is then going to work its way through the southern plains, parts of the deep south, and then up towards the northeast and Great Lakes region. And then we're going to break down some cold to follow. It's not going to be Arctic cold by any means. We're not talking about a blast similar to like what we saw leading up to Christmas. But there are going to be some wild temperature swings, especially into the deep south and into Florida with some cold, then some warm, some more cold, some more warm, and then another big blast of cold as we head into the end of the upcoming week ahead. So there's a lot going on in the weather department. In terms of storm number 1, winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories are posted places east of Denver, Colorado. In the pink there, that's where we have a winter storm warning in play. That's going to include western Kansas and Dodge City. The extreme corner of northeast New Mexico, winter weather advisories extend just to the north of Kansas City. That it's going to include St. Joseph, Missouri. All because of this one big winter storm here. It's going to start to take shape over the next several hours, really through the second part of Saturday into Sunday. I want to time that out for you right here as we take a cross-country look. The blue representing the snow, the pink representing where we'll have some mixed precip, and the green where we're going to have a very cold rain. You see that swirl there. That is our area of low pressure developing, whizzing across the country here. Now we're going to get into 3 o'clock in the afternoon on January 22nd. That's going to be Sunday. Some snow spreading to places like Erie, Pennsylvania, into western PA, Pittsburgh included, Columbus, into Cleveland, also expanding towards parts of Toronto, Ottawa. That's going to head then towards New England, impacting interior New England especially. One of the crazy things, one of the big storylines about this winter is the lack of snow along the I-95 corridor, specifically New York City. We've yet to receive measurable snowfall this winter. That could change with storm number 2. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. We'll get into that in a second, though. Bangor, Maine, we're going to be up under the gun here for some heavy snow. And then also interior Maine, getting into New Hampshire, into Vermont. That is looking at 11 o'clock in the morning on Monday, January 23rd. You see that spiral there. That system then heads in towards Nova Scotia. It does blast New Brunswick and parts of the Canadian Maritimes with some snow as well. Now back to the desert southwest into the southern plains. Storm number 2 gets going right on the heels of storm number 1. Look at this. Snow west of Oklahoma City, Lubbock, Texas. I think we're going to get in on some snow. Amarillo, Santa Fe, east of Albuquerque, as storm number 2 gets rolling. Storm number 2 is going to be a much more significant storm, much more widespread storm than storm 1. Here is the swirl. There's our center of low pressure hanging around Memphis. So again, it's a no-go for snow places like Nashville. It's going to be a cold rain. Knoxville, cold rain. Look at where the heavy snow starts to materialize. St. Louis, Missouri. Central Illinois. Chicago, we're going to be close. I think we're going to be on the northern edge of some accumulating snow. That's going to then push towards Indianapolis, Indiana, Cincinnati, Ohio, back into Columbus, and then western PA. Again, fast forwarding to Wednesday, January 25th, and you see it here. This is not a good setup for heavy snow along the I-95 corridor. Our low is still developing back here. Now, this is going to be the interesting part. We're going to transfer energy to another developing low pressure. So you see one kind of spiral out by Cincy, then another one out by D.C. So what's going to happen in this situation is we're going to have an area of low pressure transferring its energy to this one here along the coast. And then eventually that coastal low is going to ride very, very close to the I-95 corridor. But I don't think too far out at sea enough to give those big totals, and I'll show you the model forecast anyway in terms of the snow in just 1 second. By the time I get to Thursday, January 26th, we do have the lake effect snow machine cranking back up to give Michigan some snow, northern Indiana, Ohio some snow, but you see that swirl there as that lifts up into Canada rolling off of the eastern seaboard. Now, in terms of the amount of snow, it's not going to be a ton everywhere. This is through storm number 1. Again, light accumulations of snow, maybe a couple of inches in Topeka, up towards Madison, Wisconsin. And then it kind of blows through the Great Lakes and into parts of the mid-Atlantic, maybe 1 to 3 inches from Cincinnati into Pittsburgh, Syracuse. The bigger totals are going to happen interior New England, middle part of New York, getting into Vermont, New Hampshire, Bangor, Maine could pick up 4 to 6 inches of snow, maybe a little bit more as well. That's what storm number 1. Now, adding storm number 2 to the mix, you see how much further south this gets. We could pick up some accumulating snow again in Lubbock, Texas, into Oklahoma City. Even Little Rock could pick up some accumulating snow. Another round towards Indiana, Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and then blowing back up towards interior New England. Now, this model forecast is picking up on an inch of snow in New York with this second storm. I do think we could see some snow, but I don't know if it's going to amount to an inch in New York. Again, it's in a very bad spot, the center of low pressure, for snow in New York City. One of the reasons for that, and there's been a lot of talk, these crazy snow maps posted all over social media, and models have blasted New York. We've been talking about it, though, that likely not going to happen for New York City, at least the crushing snow totals through the I-95 corridor. We may break out of our measurable snow drought, but if you're a snow lover in New York City or Philadelphia, this is not the good snowstorm for you. And part of that reason is we have this big ridge of high pressure not in the right spot. It's out over the Pacific Ocean. To get those nice big snow totals in New England and in the Northeast, especially along the coast, you want that ridge to be right over Boise, Idaho. And we're just not seeing that. So that focuses the center part of the storm toward the Great Lakes, towards New England, and towards interior Northeast. And you kind of saw that little bowling ball here, that spiral come down here and move up. That storm number 2 kind of following that interior pattern. So not good news there. On to the temperatures. Again, we're not talking about a crazy blast of cold, but it is kind of the return of winter. It's been lacking through a lot of the country, with the exception of the Sierra Nevadas and the Cascades that have been blasted with that heavy snow really since the turn of the year. Again, all of the active weather has really focused itself on California, on southern Oregon, but that is changing here with this big-time pattern change. Here's 2 o'clock on Monday. We're going to get warm again in central Florida and southern Florida on Sunday, but then look at that, already on Monday afternoon in Orlando, back down to the mid-60s. Now, I know across the country that is considered warm, but it is a cool down in central Florida. Watch what happens here. As we move into Tuesday, into Wednesday, we're going to warm things back up again. Mid-70s coming our way through the Florida Peninsula, at least central and southern Florida. Note where the chill is. But again, there's still not crazy Arctic air out there. That's 2 o'clock. Going forward again, this is one of the things that you're going to notice across the country. Of course, sticking out like a sore thumb is the warmth surging back into central Florida. We're talking 80 degrees on Wednesday. 80 degrees just about in Miami. But still, in what is climatologically the coldest time of the year across most of the country, we're not seeing a ton of Arctic air. I mean, 21 in Fargo is a gorgeous afternoon. Typically, you would see these temperatures way below zero. There's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. Getting a little colder in Fargo. That's more like it anyway. But there you go. As you get into Friday morning, that's 7 o'clock. Again, these temperatures should be way, way colder for this time of the year. Up in Fargo, up in Minnesota. If you look at the top of the banner where it says future temperatures, that's where the core of the colder air is, north of the Hudson Bay, right to locked in to the North Pole, and then into parts of Siberia where it's been crazy, crazy cold there. But it, for now, anyway, staying locked in. Now, relatively speaking, it does get colder. Look at that. By Friday morning, we're talking 40s in Orlando, likely 30s north of Orlando. Nonetheless, that Arctic chill in what is, climatologically speaking anyway, the coldest time of the season, just really nowhere to be found. Alrighty, guys, that does it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have been informed about the weather anyway. If you enjoyed what you watched, please give this a thumbs up. Please give this video, please consider subscribing to the clickorlando.com channel, and we will talk next time.